Babish says Al McWiggin. I like that one. That's good. Good morning, everyone. That's right. It is Saturday, May 18th. Hoping you all are having an amazing weekend. It's also high noon on the East Coast. That's right. I am Jason Beck, your host of this week's Top Stories by the Blacklist XYZ, and it's our weekly blunt wrap-up of what was the best of the Blacklist this week. But first off, we have a PSA, you guys. That's right, because the Department of Justice did not reschedule cannabis. The DOJ simply suggested they support a reclassification of cannabis. And we are going to roll right into our first story of the week, you guys. Here we go. Here's what the Blacklist says. In New York, 75 illegal weed shops were shuttered in the first week of the Adams administration's Operation Padlock. Crackdown on the illicit marijuana sales in the cities, officials announced on Tuesday. The first batch of closures marks a drop in the bucket as there are believed to be some 3,000 illegal pot shops operating in the Big Apple, most of which cropped up in the wake of the state legalizing marijuana back in 2021 without immediately rolling out a comprehensive legal market. In a press briefing at City Hall on Tuesday morning, Mayor Adams acknowledged there's a lot of work to do. In quotes, he says, "They are just getting started," he said, of the Operation Padlock strike force, which is being led by the city sheriff's office. And this is from the Blacklist XYZ. They also they quote their source in regards, and I believe their source in this is going to be the New York Daily News, you guys. Well, I'll tell you what, New York, this is just going to be them playing whack-a-mole. They're just going to go and have probably, I'm sure, a lot of selective enforcement on who they go after and what they go after. And they're definitely are going to try to make some examples out of some people and whatnot. But the reality of it is this, is that there's just too many little bodegas for them to actually hold enforcement over. It's just not reality with the landscape of the world and how the world is today. Is just not going to happen. And then you also have the other things, Delta 8, Delta 9, THCA, all these other things. Half of these law enforcement don't even know what they're enforcing on or against or whatnot anymore. It's just one big old mashed potato confusion mashup for them. But nonetheless, we're going to go into the comments that you guys all had to say, because that's what we all know that we're here for today. That's right. And again, I do apologize if I murder your Instagram name. I do apologize in advance. It is not intentional. Gotti 1042 says it's gonna be Cali 2018 all over again. Network Goater says price going back up. Game over. New York, big city dreams, everything. New York, it's all what it seems. Hashtag Goater. What's good, Goater? Miss Jill 420 says, I think New York has a lot bigger problems than illegal cannabis. You are 100% right about that, Miss Jill. 100%. 1969 Pop Mama says, instead of making them get a license, they should just fast track them to getting licensure and then taxes. Why do they have to shut them down? Because that's how the system is set up. Because it's set up for people to fail. Extravaganza says, NYC bodegas will sell you an eighth, a lighter, a blunt, a ham and cheese sandwich, LMAO. I ain't even playing, LOL. New York Chiba Hawk says, they got Aki trapping out of the whip in front of the shop, and all the shelves are empty inside. Game changers. Exactly. That could happen very, very fast. Just like old school back in the days, how people used to sell cassettes out of the trunk back then before record stores and whatnot. Same type of thing. Ivan _Tatlin says, just 10,000 more weeks to go, bro. Kicks and Drip LLC says, they're not hitting the Arabs, though. Hashtag stay woke, wokies. Nick _638 says, LOL, that is what New York is worried about. Someone was just strangled with a belt and raped, and NYPD is raiding marijuana dispensaries. I totally agree with you on that. This is an absolute hypocrisy of justice that our tax dollars are going to this when there's so much blatant crime happening in New York City. You're totally right about this, Nick. Who's underscore that says, crazy thing is 75 isn't even a dent, LOL. That's like 4 blocks worth. 716 Dank Dispo says, lots of cops' kids selling bootleg Jeters in Queens this week. Heavy Dot Glee says, I'm all for it. They just popping up everywhere, taking food out the trappers' mouths who've been in this field and actually lost time out their life because of this shit. Not just any Ock who want to convert his deli to a smoke shop and reap off what we sowed, basically, is what it should say, but nonetheless. Cali Grown 415 says, but they can't stop all the criminals stabbing people, torturers and kids and tourists and all of this stuff. That's right. It's a damn shame. 100%. There's a lot of crime going on in New York. Dank B. Broke says, explains demand for sprayed packs going up, LOL. Cannabis Showcase says, those stores and store owners are clowns. They're not real trap niggas. They're temporarily fake hustlers. They want to sell trash instead of buying real AAA organic living soil cannabis for their clients. They're lucky more of them didn't get shot or robbed. Justin underscore 1337 says, meanwhile, hundreds of people overdose a day. Internal Medizine says, make the man turnt again. And what he's really saying is make the man turnt again. Mac Chamberlain says, I remember my first traditional market. Grow with Guap says, they call it Operation Mids and Snowballs. And Rebo's last life says, how many corners are there in all 5 boroughs? And finally, Tokyo Swift says, no way. And then new ones pop up overnight under a new name with new store inventory. NYC got their shit on lock, you guys. Well, that was a great little first story. And now we are going to move right on into our second story. A United's parcel service driver was fatally shot while sitting in his truck in Irvine on Tuesday afternoon, May 16th, and police later took a suspect into custody. The UPS driver, believed to be an on-duty, was shot around 3 p.m. in an industrial area near Chrysler and Fleming. Irvine police spokesperson Kyle Olderklop said NBC Los Angeles reported that the driver was sitting in his truck taking a break when someone in a car pulled up and shot him multiple times. No packages were stolen, leading police to believe the driver was targeted. Irvine police later surrounded a possible suspect from a video from the scene who showed a pair of Irvine police SWAT vehicles pinning a silver pickup in place alongside Santiago Canyon Road in Orange. With the suspect apparently still in the driver's seat, officers also were positioned on a hillside above the standoff. Around 6:15 p.m., police fired what is believed to be tear gas into the cabin area of the silver pickup truck before deploying a canine who engaged the suspect from the rear passenger seat of the car. Police moved in shortly after and took the suspect into custody. Well, I mean, this is just pretty sad, you guys. You know what I mean? This is a sad story. Anytime someone loses a life, it's always a sad thing. But I'm willing to bet that there is a lot more involved in this, and which you guys are all going to allude to as well in your comments, and we are going to roll right on into those, you guys. Mullah1 says, for everyone saying he stole boxes or packs, you are incorrect. He probably stole the money. Work doesn't flow west. If you know, you know. Cartbusta says, just some quick game for y'all. If he got shot in California, it was definitely bread. He stole no one. He stole no one's getting boxes sent to California unless it's bread in the mail. Chifokti says, had to be fentanyl or something in the packs. Who's shipping weed to Irvine? Ranger Boot says maybe FedEx and UPS can use an old armor cars after the economy collapses and we don't need ATMs anymore. Hey, that would probably be a good use for those. You're 100% right about that, Ranger Bots. And Paperboys 1 says Chinese millionaire son got killed. Home invasion behind our home in a guard-gated community, Trail Woods in Irvine, urging us to move out of the safest city per the FBI in the USA and California. So shout out to Irvine for being so safe, apparently, I guess, you guys. This guy apparently wasn't so safe. But nonetheless, we are going to keep on rolling. We're going to roll right into our story number 3 today. Two Fats, Two Furious. A 36-year-old Christopher Fats Texador was convicted of smuggling thousands of pounds of marijuana worth millions of dollars through the U.S. mail from a used car lot he co-owned in Pennsylvania. Texador was convicted of conspiracy to traffic more than 1,000 kilograms or more than 2,200 pounds of marijuana, conspiracy to use a firearm in furtherance of drug trafficking, use of a means in interstate communication to commit a crime of violence, and drug trafficking, the U.S. Attorney's Office announced in a news release. 5 co-defendants have pleaded guilty in the case and are awaiting sentencing. A 6th co-defendant pleaded guilty to being the marijuana source from California. He was sentenced to 57 months in prison, authorities said. The indictment, unsealed following the arrest of Texador and his co-defendants in November of 2020, lays out the case that stretches from October 2018 to May of 2020. That's when he and his co-defendants in the so-called Fast Lane group smuggled thousands of pounds of marijuana into Harrisburg, Pennsylvania by mail, arranging hundreds of shipments. The packages included multiple pound quantities of marijuana from their source in Southern California. In return, the group shipped bulk cash payments back by mail to their source in Southern California, and they operated out of numerous locations. But their primary hub was Fast Lane Auto Sales, LLC, in Harrisburg, that Texador co-owned, court documents said. They were violent, court documents said, and they threatened those suspected of interfering with their business. In November of 2019, they invaded the home of a person suspected of interfering with their drug trafficking activities, and the following month, they shot into an occupied home. Months later, they robbed someone's vehicle, court documents said, and they used GPS devices to track shipments and track people suspected of interfering with their drug trafficking activities, they said. The indictment said, authorities said the maximum penalty of the offenses is life imprisonment, a term of supervised release following the imprisonment, and a fine. Well, you guys, this is Too Fast, Too Furious. I mean, this reminds me of a whole bunch of cases that I've seen over the time, over the years. I mean, lots of people have done this, and a lot of people try to use car dealerships as a cover because they deal with a lot of cash sales in higher volume, specifically when you're buying multiple packs, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, or even 100 or whatnot. Those types of dollar amounts are usually translated and look normal on the books of auto dealerships, so why not for this guy? But nonetheless, we're going to roll right on into your comments or whatnot, you guys. Oh, one last thing about this. This guy from California that got the 57 months, I think that guy's snitching. But nonetheless, that's just my thoughts. We're going to go into what you guys think. Okay. Danklestun says, so the big plug only got 5 years? Death by THC 585 says, sounds methy. Lance Farmstrong says, wait, you mean you can't send THC in the mail? You're so funny, bro. So funny. Avaleni 7519 says, Midnight Boof Runner. We Are the Paper Plug says, he only sold 22 boxes. I did that by the time I was 19. Babish says, Al McWiggin. I like that one. That's good. I like Al McWiggin. That's a pretty good one. One Trey Dub says, all that head and no brain, LOL. Man, oh man. And Ben Jeet the Plug says, Benji the Plug says, isn't that bro who stole Woody in like Toy Story 2 or something. That's cute. That's cute. I'm glad you guys are enjoying yourselves today. But coming up next, you guys, coming up next. We have another PSA for you guys because, again, the Department of Justice did not reschedule cannabis. The DOJ simply suggested they support a reclassification of cannabis. This is the end of your PSA. All right, and for our fourth story today, federal officials announced that more than 13,803 pounds of cocaine and 3,736 pounds of marijuana, with a combined estimated street value of approximately $185 million, were offloaded during Fleet Week in Miami by the U.S. Coast Guard at Port Everglades this past week. The illegal drugs were interdirected in international waters and of the Caribbean Sea and Atlantic Ocean during 6 separate cases. Our offload today represents the combined efforts of the U.S. and allied military units from a Caribbean coalition of partners working together to deny drug trafficking organizations access to maritime smuggling routes, said Commander David Ratner, commanding officer of the United States Coast Guard, Mohawk. In a quote, "I am especially proud of the hard work of the Mohawk crew and grateful for the opportunity to operate with integrity and NATO partners in support of our national security." Officials also announced that 10 suspected smugglers had been apprehended and that they will face prosecution in federal court. Well, you guys, this is a big bust out there in Miami, and how ironic that it happened during Fleet Week. Oh man, I feel like this is kind of a setup. Maybe this, and if you look at the picture of them just standing up, I know some of the comments will allude to this, but it does almost look like they're doing a promo video for their department, because always the saying has gone with law enforcement: the bigger the bust, the bigger the boost. And we're going to roll right on into your comments and see what you all had to say, because quintessentially says, "Jesus Christ, that's a lot." Cisco 714 says, "I think I see Glasshouse metric tags." That's kind of funny. I am Zach Power says, "Little did they know they were going to get less for the units here." I mean, the market is kind of going that way. Amanito something 2024 says, "I think Future and Kendrick are responsible, especially after everything that's been going on this last couple weeks." Combo Womp says, "The first pick is the whole squad. When they load comes in, they aren't confiscating, they're recirculating," you guys. Combo Womp, you may be right about that. And Mr. Weed says, "More like the Coast Guard, the new cartel in Miami," you guys. It just reminds me of that song, "You Gotta Buy Dope From Us." But moving right along, we are going to roll right into our fifth story of today in the weekly top stories blunt wrap-up of the blacklist, because 2 El Mirage murder suspects will face the death penalty if convicted, you guys. That's right. San Bernardino County District Attorney Jason Anderson plans to seek the death penalty against 2 of the 5 men charged with murdering and robbing 6 people who were shot to death, officials said during a marijuana buy in a remote desert location northwest of Victorville, better known as Victimville, in January. The notice was made in the minutes of the hearing in Superior Court in Victorville on Thursday, May 9th. Jose Manuel Burgos Parra, 26 of Adelanto, and Jose Nicolas Hernandez Cerebra, 33 of Adelanto, both face the death penalty if convicted as charged. The minutes said the district attorney will pursue life in prison without parole for Tanel Biaz Duarte, 34 of Mateo Biaz Duarte, 24 of Apple Valley, and Jose Gerardo Hernandez Sabrina, 34 of Adelanto. If convicted as charged, the men have pleaded guilty to all of their charges, and the DA's office on Friday, May 10th, would not explain what prompted it to seek capital punishment for the 2 men and not the others. At this time, based on the evidence obtained, we believe we are seeking the appropriate punishments, said Jacqueline Rodriguez, the DA's spokeswoman. Both Burgos Parra and Nicolas Hernandez Sabrina, who face death, have been charged with 6 counts of murder, each with 3 sentencing enhancements for firearm violations, and 6 counts of second-degree robbery, each with 3 enhancements for firearms violations. On January 23rd, a 911 call from a man who said he had been shot drew law enforcement to a dusty area known as El Mirage, about 4 miles west of Highway 395 near Shadow Mountain Road. Deputies immediately found 5 victims. The 6th, the 911 caller, was found the next day nearby. All 6 suffered fatal gunshots, while 4 were also set ablaze by their attackers, the sheriff's department said. Man, this is crazy. This sounds to me like these guys were watching Casino over and over and over again, or something like that, or maybe even Goodfellas. But nonetheless, this is a tragedy when people lose their lives. But it's, at the same time too, it sounds like these guys were trying to rob them and they ended up killing the robbers. So, maybe it was karma. Who am I to judge? I'm not sure. Let's see what you guys have to say in regards to this. Oh man, Real Beachy Vibes says, Jordan the Russian, this is why Adelanto used to be cut off, LOL. Lungs _710 says, bros doing life and getting the death penalty for a couple of outdoor booth packs should have at least got some indoor packs. One Solid Forever says, meeting in the desert is wild. Agreed. I totally agree. Like, don't have meetings in the desert because bad things happen in situations like this. And there's no one around out in the desert. You already know what time it is. TGM.559 says, wait, I don't think the death penalty is available in California. You are right about that. These guys may possibly be getting charged federally. We don't know yet. I'm not quite sure. But I do know the death penalty is not available in California. And Double Box Dabu says, I have 10 acres for sale next to where this happened. It will never sell now. Well, that's just sad, and the real estate's probably going to go down, and that's more and more crime doesn't do anything for your property value. That's sorry about that, Double Box Dabo. But it's just unfortunate things. A lot of unfortunate stuff happening this week, you guys. But we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right on in to our 6th story of the day, which is another sad story. Nice try and blame a heroin addict that crashed into a bus on a marijuana oil, you guys. That's right. A Florida man, Brian McLean Howard, who claimed to be on the way to a methadone clinic, crashed his Ford Ranger into a retired school bus carrying 53 farm workers, killing 8 people and injuring another 40. According to an arrest report from the Florida Highway Patrol, Howard told an investigator he was hanging out with a friend who had a medical marijuana card Monday night and smoked marijuana oil with him. Before Howard went to bed, he said he also took some prescription medications, and on Tuesday, Howard left his parents' house around 6:30 a.m. to drive to a methadone clinic in Ocala, Florida, for treatment of a chipped vertebrae in his back, according to the arrest report. Howard said he was driving carefully because he crashed his mother's car into a tree 3 days earlier while trying to avoid an animal that had ran in front of him, according to the report. Howard's eyes were bloodshot and watery during the interview with the Highway Patrol, and his speech was thick and slurred, according to the report. After Howard was arrested Tuesday afternoon, a breath test found he had a blood alcohol level of 0.0000%. A judge ordered Howard held without bond during a virtual court appearance on Wednesday morning, and his next court appearance is scheduled for June. 6 of the deceased victims range in age from 20 to 46, according to the arrest report, and they were identified as Jose Herberto Fraga Acosta, 27, and Acelis Miranda Pascal, 21, Manuel Perez Rios, 46, Christian Salazar Valeda, 24, Alfredo Tovar Sanchez, 20, and Everardo Ventura Hernandez, 30. 2 other deceased victims were identified as Hispanic males, but still remain yet to be identified. Now, this is just a sad story all the way around, and I don't even really understand why the cannabis, this guy is even saying that he smoked cannabis oil the night before. That would have already worn off. I mean, you're obviously on some other drugs and trying to use cannabis as a scapegoat for your weary ways, and this is just a shame that all of these people that were off to work, going to work, can make a living to provide for their family, had to fall victim because of this man's recklessness. But nonetheless, we're going to roll into see what you guys have to say. JP_bomb says, RIP to the innocent people who lost their lives. I couldn't agree with you more, JP. You're totally right about that. Measy Grow 757 says, here comes Big Pharma's propaganda, and so it starts. You're totally right about that. This could definitely be set up by Big Pharma, and especially with the wording of whether they're trying to blame this on the cannabis industry for the or cannabis for the causure of his wreckage, even though we all know it's pharmaceutical drugs that are leading to the cause of this. Pouring Up 420 says, RIP, I worked with them down south. Just seen them the other day. That shit crazy. Watermelon workers, by the way. Canna Ben says, definitely doesn't have anything to do with the pills he took before he went to bed. For sure was the weed. I agree with you, Canna Ben. Gracia_7 says, on the news, they said he was drunk. So which one is it? I don't know. I'm just reporting this, and thank you for letting us know that they were saying that. Holy Grail Chemistry says he faded out from Suboxone. I think you're right about that, Holy Grail. NY Small Pharma says that's what did it. Now we know. Hova says I'm going to need to see the toxicology report. I'm with you, Hova. I'm all the way with you. Let's see the toxicology report. Let's get some answers because we have one news saying this, another news saying this. Let's get down to the bottom of this. And Pirate Farm says, I'm sure the methadone had nothing to do with it. I agree. And finally, last comment, Rebel X Kid says, sounds like somebody wasn't really recovering and nodded off on some shit. That's what it sounds like to me, too. Exactly that. We are going to roll right into our final story of the day. We hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend this Saturday. Must be the money. Southwest Missouri authorities stop a vehicle resulting in a large drug haul, according to the Newton County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Will Weisler and his canine Loki assisted in a search of a vehicle traveling from Tulsa, Oklahoma to St. Louis, Missouri. The department says the driver was trafficking marijuana, cocaine, and fentanyl, and he was in possession of a firearm. They added that while marijuana possession is illegal in Missouri, trafficking controlled substances across state lines is not. The department does not believe that the marijuana confiscated during the bust was grown from a licensed facility in Missouri, and there is no word on whether the charges against the driver will be local or federal, you guys. Well, this is just another big bust happening, and the fact that this guy is trafficking fentanyl, I just think this guy should get the book thrown at him, but who knows? I mean, hopefully since it's Missouri, they will throw the book at him because they still prosecute crime there, not like here in California. But it's just ironic to me that all these people want to mix up all these drugs at the same time too. Like if you want to deal with weed, deal with weed. If you want to deal with coke, deal with coke. If you want to deal with fentanyl, deal with fentanyl, and accrue the charges. You know what I mean, of whatever comes along with those. But like when you mix this stuff all up, like you're not going to get any sympathy from anybody with anything, especially anytime you have cocaine or fentanyl involved with it. So you're just kind of setting yourself up for failure. You might as well not even sell weed and just focus on selling fentanyl and heroin or cocaine, whatever the hell. But nonetheless, enough of what I have to say about this, you guys. Let's hear what you guys have to say. Known AC says, it's real deal murderers out here, and y'all still doing marijuana drug bust because y'all want that profit. The government, the real gangsters. We ain't and never will hurt nobody. It's just effing up the white economy because the black community is thriving off of it illegally. OG Sheen says, the bust was grown in Missouri, but it was coming from Tulsa. I think, OG Sheen, I think you're a little confused on that. I think you are a little confused on that. Trinidad Josiah says, that ain't a Tulsa County cop car. I'm sure it was probably a state trooper. That's what I would imagine. Devener Hashish says, if you get pulled trafficking Fetty, it's karma. I agree with you, bro. I agree with you on that. That's karma. The fentanyl is no good for people. No good whatsoever. Buffalo Lobigznick says, people that get caught are usually not good at the trade of transportation. Very, very great point. Great point. Thank you for stating the obvious. We appreciate that very much. Urban Forest Farm says, Oklahoma hot. They tracking cars. Stay smart out there. BirdMat24 says, how much money was in the car? Oh, wait, that's right. Cop had to pay his bill somehow. Alluding to that the law enforcement took all the money that was in this car. Toy MP 5K says, pushing Fetty, so who cares? Throw away the key. I can agree with that. 7.30 NYC says, them OKC packs ain't even worth the risk. OG Shadward says, crossing from medical to rec state lines on the 44 is wild. To which Damian Everett replies, Wardy Daddy _ actually, they probably were investigating him already and knew when and where. And then Waddy Daddy _ actual responds and says, okay, but why was he pulled over to begin with? Yeah, the story doesn't tell you why that happened, but nonetheless, you'll have to read that in the police report, and I'm sure the lawyers are going to have to figure out all of those types of questions with whoever is going to be representing these individual in this case. But nonetheless, this has been a very busy week this week, you guys, in the Blacklist XYZ. I am Jason Beck, your host for High at 9 News. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Hope you having a fantastic weekend. This has been your weekly blunt wrap of the Blacklist XYZ by High at 9 News. And in closing, we have one more PSA for you guys all. The Department of Justice did not reschedule cannabis. The DOJ simply suggested they support a reclassification of cannabis. End of story, you guys. We'll see you all soon. We'll see you this week and have a blessed weekend.